President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Yeah, please sit down. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Peter, the government. It is my pleasure to address you today, where all critical stakeholders involved in humanitarian action and disaster mitigation are gathered to deliberate and strategize on more efficient, collaborative, and resourceful means of integrating and sustaining humanitarian intervention for improved livelihood for our people. The theme of this event, strengthening resilience and sustaining development, a humanitarian development peace approach to leaving no one behind, is apt and reflects the urgent need for continuous engagement in the humanitarian section. The uncertainty and unpredictability of our world in the last 3 years due to coronavirus pandemic, catastrophic weather events, and conflicts have reminded us of the important role we play as leaders whose citizens look to us to chart a future of peace and prosperity. This we can only promise through strategic foresight and visionary changes. My pronouncement on the 21st of August 2019 for the establishment and creation of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development was a strategic intervention and underscores Nigeria's commitment to constantly strengthen resilience and sustain development through improved coordination and synergy between international, regional, and national humanitarian and development actors, peace-building partners, and governments. Excellencies, in the 37 months that the ministry has been operational, it has worked with national governments, ministries, departments, and agencies, organized private sector, the United Nations, local and international non-governmental organizations, and security actors to widen dialogue in a bid to reinforce existing capacities and strengthen coping strategies. The government of Nigeria, through the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development, its agencies and programs have developed policies, frameworks, programs, and plans that form the foundation necessary to build resilience. Some of these include civil security cooperation in humanitarian action, which created the National Humanitarian Coordination Committee, the development of lead and inclusive future-thinking ecosystem coordination framework, and the National Humanitarian Committee Technical Working Group. Other policies, frameworks, programs, and plans that support the Agenda 2030 and resilience building of our citizenry are the National Internally Displaced Persons Policy, the revised National Emergency Management Plan, the National Emergency Flood and Response Plan, the National Policy for Aging for Elderly Persons, the Poverty Reduction Plan, and the revised National Policy on Disability, all aimed at supporting our administration's strategy to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. Excellencies, this administration's efforts to tackle poverty and ensure social inclusion through the social investment programs, namely homegrown school feeding programs, which addresses school attention and cognitive performance. The conditional cash transfer program provides timely and accessible cash transfers to poor and vulnerable households. The Empower program is a skill for jobs program aimed at preparing youth for employment or entrepreneurial opportunities, and the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, which aids the expansion of small and medium-scale enterprises and provides loans to the poor to enable them to participate in economic activities, the alternate school program, and the grant for vulnerable groups. In strengthening our resilience, Nigeria has also brought to the fore the inclusion of persons with disability and elderly persons in the social protection space by the creation of agencies that will lay emphasis on these populations in the country. This administration has also prioritized other initiatives, namely the National Social Protection Policy and a National Social Safety Nets Program establishment for effective social protection implementation, which involves the building of the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households. Excuse me. This has also formed a basis for developing united registration and coordination framework for the ministry to lead an inclusive, future-thinking ecosystem for all humanitarian actors. However, there is a need to implement all the policies and frameworks within a collaborative and 10-year plan aimed at cohesively reducing the frequency of conditions that promote fragility and conflict. This implementation will aid Nigeria's effort on humanitarian coordination and the integration of the National Humanitarian Development Peace Framework, an approach that focuses on leaving no one behind. The framework is a multi-track, multi-agency, and multi-stakeholder approach that supports the growth of local capacities for post-conflict or post-disaster reconstruction activities through equitable policy making and investment to build resilience and guarantee better response mechanisms to man-made and environmental catastrophes in Nigeria. We are also prioritizing the development of a digitalized and integrated management information system to address operational gaps across agencies and programs. The use of automated processes and procedures through the coordination framework will facilitate real-time monitoring while ascertaining frequent performance reporting. The task before this August gathering, therefore, is how to analyze our shared experiences over the years, the effectiveness of our responses at the international and domestic levels, the gaps identified, and devise possible transformational solutions for the future. Excellencies, as we deliberate on these issues, let us remind ourselves of our duty to humanity and our planet, the vulnerability we all face in conflicts and disasters. I implore you to actively engage on how we can leverage the existing coordination frameworks and the National Humanitarian Development Peace Plan to activate more private sector participation, enable the consolidation of partnership, and accelerate the collaborations required to realize a triple nexus approach to leaving no one behind. I now call on bilateral and multilateral development partners to give technical support to our well-planned policies and programs. Thank you very much, and God bless our Federal Republic.
Could you step forward, please?